is not taking any more crap from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. He's now considering all options, including legal routes, to stop his younger brother, who he views as a treacherous soul these days.
It's February 23rd, 2026, and the quiet London morning just got ripped apart by a statement so sharp it cut straight through the mist. At exactly 9:07 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, Buckingham Palace dropped an announcement that didn't just shake headlines, it sent shockwaves through the entire monarchy. The message was crisp, formal, and ice cold. Acting under full authority of the Crown and backed by the Privy Council, Prince William officially refused to recognize a private DNA profiling report submitted by Prince Harry. That report was supposed to calm everything down. It was presented as scientific proof that Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor is Harry's biological son and should be fully recognized in the royal household registry. But instead of healing tensions, the move detonated like a royal grenade. The palace rejection didn't just end a conversation, it froze the entire situation. Suddenly, the royal bloodline itself was under scrutiny, creating a standoff nobody expected. Not since historic royal crises centuries ago has Britain seen anything this intense. The message from the palace landed like thunder wrapped in royal protocol. This wasn't about paperwork or family arguments, it was a declaration of constitutional power. William made it crystal clear, no child claiming royal descent will enter the line of succession without DNA verification conducted under the authority of the Crown. In plain terms, William wants another test, and not one from a private California lab. The future king wants the process handled by Britain's own forensic and intelligence experts. Just like that, a private family dispute turned into a matter of national protocol. The conflict isn't about headlines anymore. Now it's about bloodlines. What's at stake is massive. The legitimacy of two royal children, the reputations of two brothers, and the stability of the monarchy itself. From elite clubs in St. James's to the halls of Westminster, one question keeps echoing through the corridors of power. He may be your son, Harry, but is he ours? To understand how things exploded like this, you have to rewind to the legal spark that ignited everything. Just days earlier, Harry's legal team delivered a 72-page dossier straight to Clarence House. The document reportedly laid out every argument and demand for restoring royal recognition and security status for his children. What was meant to settle old disputes ended up reopening one of the deepest wounds inside the Windsor dynasty. The file Harry's team submitted wasn't light reading. It was packed with documents designed to silence critics once and for all. Inside were genetic test results from a California lab confirming Harry's paternity, a sworn affidavit from Meghan Markle outlining her pregnancy timeline from 2018 to 2019, ultrasound records from a Beverly Hills doctor, and even a notarized statement from a staff member at Portland Hospital. Every page pushed the same message: legitimacy. The goal was explosive but simple: restore Archie and Princess Lilibet as official members of the royal family. After years outside the palace system, Harry reportedly hoped this move would reopen the doors of the monarchy and restore titles, privileges, and protection for his children. Insiders claim he's been eager to reconnect with the UK after life in America started feeling increasingly isolating. But when the dossier landed on William's desk, the response was ruthless and calculated. Palace sources say William immediately reactivated the Sovereign Succession Security Council, a rarely used advisory unit of legal experts, intelligence officials, and royal archivists tasked with protecting the integrity of the royal bloodline. Within hours, William's office issued what insiders now call a royal freeze on Archie's reintegration attempt. The reason? Alleged irregularities and contradictions in the evidence submitted by Harry's team. Then came whispers of something even more explosive: leaked internal documents, now nicknamed the Bloodline Files, reportedly list a series of unanswered questions surrounding Archie's birth. And according to palace insiders, those files contain details serious enough to shake the monarchy itself. One issue focused on visual analysis of Meghan's pregnancy photos from early 2019. Palace media experts reportedly reviewed dozens of images, especially photos taken on March 5th during 2 public appearances in London. In morning photos, Meghan's baby bump appeared large and low, typical of late pregnancy. But just hours later that same day, new images showed a noticeably smaller shape sitting higher under her coat. Analysts even claimed visible creasing looked more like fabric folding than natural skin movement. According to sources, Palace investigators even commissioned a private 3D reconstruction using depth mapping technology. Their reported conclusion was dramatic. No natural pregnancy could change shape that drastically within just 6 hours. Those findings reignited long-standing speculation that something unusual may have happened during the pregnancy timeline. But the second issue raised in the files might be even more serious. Unlike the births of Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, there is reportedly no signed medical confirmation from the royal household's official physicians verifying Meghan's labor or delivery. The 2 doctors who normally oversee royal births, Sir Marcus Setchell and Dr. Guy Thorpe Beeston, were not involved in Archie's delivery. Even more puzzling, insiders say no official hospital discharge records were filed with the UK General Register Office or archived by the Crown. Inside royal protocol, a birth not witnessed and documented by the Crown's medical officers technically fails to meet traditional standards for a royal heir. And suddenly, that missing paperwork, once dismissed as a minor detail, has become one of the most controversial questions hanging over the monarchy today. For years, these unanswered questions were brushed off as gossip, but suddenly, those missing records and silent doctors are being treated like potential proof of something much bigger. What once sounded like rumor is now being examined like evidence. Then came another twist, the birth certificate mystery. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor had an official birth certificate that was amended nearly a month after it was first issued. According to insiders, Prince William called the move unprecedented and completely unexplained. The edit replaced Rachel Meghan Markle with Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex in the field listing the mother's name. At the time, Meghan Markle's team claimed the palace itself requested the change, but William's office fired back quickly, pointing out that Catherine, Princess of Wales, used her full legal name on all 3 of her children's certificates, without any changes. It might sound like a small detail, but palace investigators see a flashing warning sign. To them, altering an official royal document raises serious questions, and now every line of that record is under intense scrutiny. But the most shocking revelation buried inside the so-called bloodline files didn't come from doctors or courtiers, it came from the financial world. According to sources, a classified audit conducted by cyber specialists linked to MI6 uncovered a strange financial transfer. On May 1st, 2019, and just 5 days before the palace publicly announced Archie's birth, investigators reportedly found a wire payment of $499 connected to an entity labeled RQLLLC. The destination? A discreet reproductive medical center near Tijuana, known among elite clients for coordinating gestational surrogacy services with extreme privacy. That discovery triggered serious alarm inside Buckingham Palace. Investigators say the transaction wasn't random. Hidden metadata reportedly referenced a non-disclosure agreement between the clinic and a third party. Intelligence officers flagged the detail immediately, warning it could suggest a confidential gestational arrangement. If something like that were ever confirmed, it would collide directly with a centuries-old royal rule. Under historic born-of-the-body succession law, a royal heir must be physically born to the royal mother to qualify for the line of succession. But the controversy didn't stop there. Even the DNA test meant to settle everything has now become part of the mystery. The analysis was reportedly carried out by Horizon Gene Diagnostics, a small private lab in Santa Barbara. Williams' advisors quickly questioned the chain of custody. Sources claim the samples were hand-delivered by a personal courier connected to Meghan's team, instead of going through an official forensic evidence process. Experts also noted the lab lacks accreditation from the Royal College of Pathologists and is not listed under the international ISO 17025 forensic standard. That absence raised serious concerns among palace investigators, then things escalated again. The submission was reportedly overseen by Douglas Hall, an attorney from Oregon known for parental rights cases, not royal succession law. Insiders say that detail alone raised eyebrows across royal legal circles. But the biggest shock came from a leaked email dated January 22nd obtained by the Times of London. The subject line reportedly read, "We need optics, not science." Inside the message, Hall allegedly instructed his team that if the California lab couldn't deliver results quickly, they should find another lab willing to certify the findings. One line stood out. "It doesn't have to be bulletproof, just unimpeachable on paper." When confronted, Hall didn't deny the email existed. He only said it was misunderstood. But inside palace circles, the damage was already done. And just when the situation seemed impossible to untangle, a new timeline released by Kensington Palace added another layer of confusion. Investigators say the DNA sample left Los Angeles International Airport on January 24th bound for London, but records suggest an identical sample was also sent to a second laboratory in Zurich. That Swiss lab reportedly never processed the sample because payment never arrived. Palace sources now believe it may have been a backup plan, a second trail of proof prepared in case the first test was challenged. And suddenly, the entire situation looked far more complicated than anyone expected. Even more troubling details surfaced from leaked data inside the Zurich lab system. Records reportedly marked the sample practice use only, confirming that no official chain of custody was ever established there either. As one senior UK Home Office source allegedly whispered off the record, "It's starting to look like smoke and mirrors, and the stakes, they couldn't be higher." At this point, the situation no longer looks like a simple paternity report. To insiders, it reads more like the final act of a political thriller, a complicated battle over perception, proof, and power. The palace isn't treating this like paperwork anymore. They're treating it like a full-blown institutional crisis. In response, Prince William took a step that has almost never been seen publicly. He activated the Royal Commission for Lineal Ethics and Continuity, known as the RLEC. This commission was quietly created under royal charter back in 1975 as a safeguard for extreme situations when the monarchy's bloodline might be questioned. Normally, it operates completely behind the scenes, but now, for the first time in living memory, the full 7-member panel has been summoned. The commission includes senior figures connected to the House of Lords, a retired Privy Council judge, the royal archivist, a constitutional historian from University of Oxford, a legal representative linked to the Archbishop of Canterbury, and a former intelligence officer whose identity remains secret. Their task is enormous. They must determine whether Archie Harrison, Mountbatten Windsor, and Princess Lilibet meet the legal and ceremonial requirements to remain within the royal succession structure. And this investigation goes far beyond DNA. It touches on tradition, royal law, and the stability of the monarchy itself. Sources say the commission has already requested extensive records. These reportedly include multiple versions of the children's birth certificates, travel logs linked to Meghan Markle before both births, and security records connected to Frogmore Cottage. If the commission ultimately concludes that royal succession rules were not properly followed, the consequences could shake the monarchy in ways not seen for generations. In that scenario, Archie and Lilibet could reportedly be removed from official royal records and barred from future ceremonial roles. But the controversy reaches even deeper, into the legacy of Princess Diana. According to her 1996 will, Diana's estate was intended to pass through her sons and eventually to their legitimate descendants. Now, with questions surrounding succession eligibility, the children's access to the Diana Discretionary Trust, valued at over £22 million, has reportedly become uncertain. Sources claim William has already held private consultations with the trust's administrators about temporarily freezing the Sussex children's potential share until the commission completes its review. If true, that move would block immediate access to those funds. A major blow at a moment when financial pressure around the Sussex household has reportedly intensified. And behind closed doors, insiders say Prince Harry views the entire situation as something far deeper than a legal dispute. According to sources close to him, he sees it as a betrayal, not only of him, but of his mother's legacy. According to insiders, Prince Harry allegedly told a close friend something deeply personal. He reportedly said that Princess Diana would never have allowed royal paranoia to outweigh love for her grandchildren. As he supposedly put it, she believed in hearts, not birth certificates. Those words quickly started echoing through media headlines and palace corridors. Still, palace advisors insist the situation has nothing to do with emotions. To them, this is about responsibility and law. Officials say the trustees of Diana's estate are simply protecting her legacy by making sure funds go only to properly verified heirs. One source explained it bluntly: until legitimacy questions are resolved, the financial freeze remains. That decision has tightened the pressure around Harry's options. According to insiders, it also increases pressure on him to cooperate with the palace request for a full forensic review. While Prince William strengthens his legal position, another powerful figure has quietly stepped into the story: King Charles III. High-level palace sources claim a sealed memo written by Charles in December 2025 has now been reviewed again at William's request. The full contents remain classified, but insiders say the subject line alone triggered major speculation: Sussex children and the threshold of trust. The document is reportedly stored under high security at Marlborough House and was drafted after Charles received a confidential briefing from Princess Anne about alleged inconsistencies surrounding Archie's birth timeline. Sources close to the situation suggest the memo may outline early approval for denying hereditary recognition to any royal child not born under verified and observable conditions. If true, it would represent one of the toughest royal policy positions in modern history. Insiders say Charles faced a painful dilemma, balancing the feelings of a grandfather with the duty of a monarch. In the end, he reportedly deferred authority to William, signaling trust in his son's judgment while quietly shifting control of sensitive family matters. But the Sussex camp didn't stay quiet. On February 12th at 8 a.m., Meghan Markle's legal team filed a counter motion in the High Court of Justice. In the filing, they accused William and the Privy Council of staging what they described as a custodial coup disguised as a lineage inquiry. The legal argument is bold. Meghan's lawyers claim Archie and Princess Lilibet hold dual citizenship in both the United Kingdom and the United States, meaning international family law protections could apply. They also argue the Royal Household Registry is not a statutory civil authority and therefore has no legal power to determine identity or legitimacy. To support their case, the filing reportedly included family photographs from Archie's birthday celebration in Montecito and a sworn affidavit from Tyler Perry stating Meghan carried and raised both children while facing intense public scrutiny. The emotional appeal was powerful, but the palace response was complete silence. Insiders say that silence is intentional. Behind the gates of Buckingham Palace, advisors are reportedly calculating every step carefully. The royal divide is now impossible to hide. Princess Anne is said to support William's position strongly and is reportedly pushing for an independent royal medical tribunal to review the matter. Meanwhile, Prince Edward is believed to feel uneasy about the harsh tone of the investigation, but still thinks the monarchy must appear prepared and strong. And although she has said nothing publicly, sources claim Queen Camilla was overheard privately saying, "The crown must stand above scandal." As for Harry, insiders describe him as furious and deeply hurt, feeling betrayed not only by his brother, but by the very institution he once defended. One palace insider revealed that a recent phone call between Prince William and Prince Harry was brutally short and completely cold. No warmth, no brotherly bond, just tension hanging in the air. What began as a dispute over paperwork has now exploded into something far bigger. The conflict has turned into a constitutional and emotional crisis shaking the entire royal institution. The monarchy suddenly finds itself standing on a razor's edge, caught between bloodline and brotherhood, law and loyalty. Behind the towering gates of Buckingham Palace, a quiet decision is reportedly being finalized. And the question on the table is no longer just about DNA or paternity. The real question now is far more dangerous. Can the House of Windsor survive a scandal this massive, whether it proves to be a lie or a damaging truth? As of February 13, 2026, the final report from the Royal Commission reviewing the case has been completed after nearly a week of examining birth records, bank transfers, and confidential testimony. According to insiders, the report is now being reviewed by only 3 key figures: Prince William, Princess Anne, and the Lord High Chancellor of Great Britain. Their verdict will shape far more than the fate of 2 children. It could determine the credibility of the crown itself. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle, who has stayed mostly silent during the investigation, is reportedly preparing to break that silence in dramatic fashion. Sources close to her legal team say Meghan has recorded a powerful on-camera message that could be released within hours of the commission's verdict. The interview, filmed recently at her home in Montecito, is described as raw, emotional, and deeply personal. Insiders claim she speaks openly about her pregnancies, childbirth, and the intense scrutiny she faced as both a woman and a mother under royal pressure. Her statement reportedly accuses the institution of misogyny, class bias, and rigid gatekeeping. At one emotional moment, Meghan is said to declare, "I carried my children. I gave birth to them, and now they're being erased. This isn't about lineage, it's about power, fear, and control." Those words alone are expected to ignite headlines around the world. The production is reportedly being handled by an independent American media outlet rather than a major broadcast network. That move appears deliberate, allowing the message to reach audiences without traditional media filters. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear: the battle over truth, legacy, and the future of the monarchy is about to explode into the global spotlight. But while Meghan prepares her public response, William is quietly preparing his own, far more controlled, yet just as historic. Behind palace walls, his advisors have finalized a draft speech titled "On the Matter of Lineage and Constitutional Continuity." Insiders say the statement could redefine how the monarchy approaches succession in the modern era. The speech is reportedly scheduled for release within 24 hours of the commission's ruling and has already received preliminary approval from King Charles III. According to sources, the statement will outline the commission's findings, confirm the official registry status of Archie and Princess Lilibet, and clarify the crown's position on future claims to royal titles and succession. This is not just a press release. It is being described inside palace circles as a constitutional declaration. Those who have seen early drafts say the tone is calm, firm, and deeply personal. At one key moment, William reportedly states, "This decision was not made with malice, it was made with duty. I would rather carry the burden of public criticism than risk the erosion of royal truth." That line alone reportedly left several senior advisors silent. Sources say William has already accepted the potential consequences, even if it means losing his brother forever. But just as the palace prepares for the fallout, a new twist has sent the British press into total frenzy. A leaked travel manifest from Heathrow Airport reportedly lists a private jet scheduled to land in London on February 14, 2026. The document identifies one adult passenger traveling under the name Henry Mountbatten Windsor, the birth name of Prince Harry, along with 2 minor dependents. The flight allegedly departed from Van Nuys Airport aboard a charter aircraft often used by high-profile clients. One detail stands out immediately: Meghan Markle is not listed on the manifest. No security convoy, no press coordination, and no official confirmation from palace officials. The silence surrounding the flight has only fueled speculation. Some insiders believe Harry may be planning an extraordinary move, returning to the United Kingdom with his children to present them directly before the king. If true, it would be a bold, emotional gesture, an attempt to prove their place in the royal family not through documents but through presence and legacy. But others inside royal circles remain skeptical. Some palace watchers believe the flight could be a calculated distraction designed to shift attention away from legal maneuvers happening behind the scenes. As one senior insider reportedly put it, this family plays chess, not checkers. Outside the palace gates, the world is waiting. Journalists have already gathered near Buckingham Palace, preparing for an announcement that could reshape the monarchy's future. Across Europe, headlines are exploding with speculation. Public opinion is sharply divided. To some observers, Meghan appears as a modern mother facing outdated traditions. To others, William is seen as a protector of royal integrity, a man forced to make difficult decisions to defend the crown. Caught in the middle stands Harry, the most tragic figure in this unfolding drama, a man torn between family loyalty and royal duty. If the commission rules in favor of Archie and Lilibet, the outcome would be historic. The children could be reinstated in the royal household registry, recognized with their titles, and restored to the line of succession. But if the ruling goes the other way, the consequences could be severe. Their royal recognition could be removed permanently, eliminating titles, ceremonial roles, and future succession claims. Sources say the ruling may also affect access to the trust linked to Princess Diana's estate. And according to palace insiders, an obscure clause in the commission's charter allows either the king, or in his absence the Prince of Wales, to uphold or veto the final decision. But those closest to the situation say William has no intention of interfering. He reportedly plans to accept the ruling exactly as delivered, believing the monarchy's credibility depends on enforcing its laws without exception, no matter who it hurts. To Prince William, royal truth must come before royal blood. As one palace aide reportedly said, "This isn't just family drama, it's about the future of the crown." And suddenly, the entire world is watching this saga unfold like a global case study on power, identity, legacy, and truth. Two brothers, two children, one bloodline, and one question that may define the monarchy for generations. Does birth alone make someone royal, or must the crown recognize them first? When dawn arrived on February 14, 2026, London didn't wake up to the warmth of Valentine's Day. The city woke beneath the cold tension of history in motion. Across newsrooms and palace corridors, everyone was waiting for the moment the so-called bloodline files would finally be closed. Then the rumors became reality. At 6:42 a.m., a Gulfstream G650, tail number N722SW, pierced the grey London sky and landed at RAF Northolt. This military airfield is normally reserved for heads of state and senior royals, a clear signal that this arrival was being treated as a matter of national importance. The jet rolled toward a secluded hangar far from the reporters gathered overnight at Heathrow Airport. Waiting on the tarmac wasn't a royal welcome party. Instead, 3 black Range Rovers stood ready, surrounded by officers from the Diplomatic Protection Service. At the bottom of the aircraft steps stood 2 key figures from the palace system: Sir Clive Alderton, the King's powerful private secretary, and Dr. Michael Dixon, head of the Royal Medical Household. Their presence made the situation unmistakably clear. This was not a reunion, it was a verification mission. When the aircraft door opened, the silence on the runway deepened. Prince Harry stepped out first. He looked exhausted, unshaven, shoulders heavy, wearing a wrinkled gray suit that seemed to hang loosely from his frame. To those watching, he looked like a man carrying the weight of a fractured dynasty. Then came the moment that froze everyone in place. Harry turned back toward the aircraft cabin and reached out his hand. From the shadowed doorway stepped 2 small figures, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor and Princess Lilibet. For the first time in years, the children appeared publicly not as distant photographs or blurred images, but as real children standing beside their father. They looked wide-eyed and uncertain, gripping Harry's hands as they carefully descended the aircraft stairs. The runway remained eerily silent. No photographers, no shouting reporters, only the distant hum of jet engines and the cold London wind. One detail stood out immediately. Meghan Markle was not there. Harry had arrived alone with the children. To insiders, the move looked like a desperate and defiant gamble, a final attempt to prove the legitimacy of his family once and for all. The convoy didn't head toward Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle as many expected. Instead, under heavy police escort, the vehicle sped through the quiet morning streets toward King Edward VII's hospital. Inside, an entire hospital floor had reportedly been cleared overnight. The building had been transformed into the site of what insiders called the Independent Medical Tribunal. The process was strict and tightly controlled. New DNA samples would be collected by Crown-appointed geneticists, monitored by a High Court judge, and analyzed by a forensic laboratory connected to the UK Ministry of Defence. No private labs, no outside influence, only government-level forensic testing. This was exactly the kind of verification William had demanded from the beginning. And now Harry had agreed. Friends close to him say he believed science would finally silence the speculation and clear his children's names forever. But while the medical process was beginning in London, another storm erupted across the Atlantic. At exactly 9 a.m. London time, a video suddenly appeared online. The video, titled The Erasure, was posted on a newly created YouTube channel with no branding or media affiliation. The thumbnail showed Meghan sitting alone in a stark white room, dressed in black, staring directly into the camera. No studio lighting, no glamorous filters, just raw emotion. And this time, Meghan wasn't speaking as a duchess. She spoke as a mother. Her voice reportedly trembled with emotion as she said, "They asked for my blood." Then she paused before adding a line that sent shockwaves across social media. "They asked for the blood of my children to prove they are human." Her tone hardened as she continued, "This isn't about protocol, this is about punishment. They are trying to erase us because we refuse to stay silent." The message landed like an emotional thunderbolt. Meghan wasn't delivering a royal statement, she was delivering a public plea, a mother standing in the middle of a battle that had now captured the attention of the entire world. Meghan Markle continued speaking directly to the camera, describing what she called deeply intrusive and humiliating demands from the palace. She framed the DNA request as something darker, something that, in her view, crossed into a violation of basic dignity. Then she leaned closer to the camera, her eyes steady and unblinking. "They want to tell you that my children aren't real," she said quietly, "but the only thing that isn't real is their humanity." Within 1 hour, the video titled The Erasure exploded across the internet, surpassing 10 million views. Social media erupted with hashtags like #LetThemBeRoyal and #StopTheErasure, trending across multiple platforms. The video landed like a digital shockwave. It was a fierce counterattack aimed directly at the monarchy's public image. Meghan's message was designed to shift the debate away from legal arguments and toward public emotion, and online it worked. Public opinion fractured instantly. Some viewers rallied behind her message of maternal defense, while others questioned the claims and waited for official answers. But inside the secured offices of the Royal Commission for Lineal Ethics and Continuity, the emotional storm raging online carried little weight. The commissioners weren't watching viral videos. They were examining financial records, witness statements, and intelligence reports. One detail drew particular attention: a $499,900 wire transfer connected to a reproductive medical facility near Tijuana. According to investigators, that payment had now been corroborated by a second independent intelligence source. Then another development pushed the investigation even further. A leaked internal email from a former financial manager associated with RQL surfaced during the review. The message reportedly raised concerns about how payments connected to Force Biomed, a medical services provider, had been structured. Investigators believed the wording suggested an effort to reorganize financial records before potential audits. Inside royal legal circles, the email quickly became one of the most discussed pieces of evidence. To investigators, the message appeared to reference third-party gestational services and the urgency of cleaning up documentation. For the commission, this was not emotional speculation. It was a potential legal complication involving succession rules. Under long-standing constitutional principles governing the British monarchy, succession traditionally depends on the concept of being born of the body of the royal mother. Legal scholars advising the commission explained that if a birth ever occurred outside those historical parameters, the constitutional interpretation of succession eligibility could become extremely complex. The technical details suddenly carried enormous weight. Even if a child is biologically related to royal parents, historical succession rules may require parliamentary legislation to modify eligibility under certain circumstances, and currently, no such legislation exists. That meant the issue before the commission was not about personal relationships or family affection. It was about constitutional law. At 4:16 p.m., the Independent Medical Tribunal completed its forensic procedures. DNA samples collected earlier that day were sealed and logged. The results were transferred securely to the Commission's encrypted record system. Afterward, Prince Harry and the children were escorted from King Edward VII's hospital to a secured residence within the Windsor estate. It was not Frogmore Cottage, which had been vacated earlier. Instead, they were taken to a smaller security lodge typically used during high-protection operations. There, Harry waited under strict protocol. Communication devices were temporarily removed as part of procedures designed to prevent leaks, while the commission finalized its decision. Inside the quiet residence with his children sleeping nearby, Harry reportedly spent the hours in tense uncertainty. Friends later said he tried to stay calm for the children, telling stories, distracting them with games, and doing his best to create a sense of normal life while the storm outside grew stronger. But the reality remained unavoidable. The future of his children's royal titles, and possibly their place within the monarchy, was now being debated inside palace chambers. By 6:18 p.m., the decision arrived. The commission delivered its report to both Prince William and King Charles III. The document was bound in red leather and sealed with the royal crest. Its title read, "Findings on the Lineal Status of the Sussex Issues." Inside, the conclusions were complex. The DNA analysis conducted by a laboratory connected to the UK Ministry of Defence confirmed that Prince Harry is the biological father of both children. But the report also addressed procedural concerns connected to documentation surrounding the births. Investigators cited missing verification signatures from royal physicians, alterations in public registry records, and financial activity linked to medical services abroad. Taken together, those issues created legal uncertainty regarding whether the births met the traditional standards historically referenced in succession law. The report emphasized that the ruling did not question the existence of the children or Harry's relationship as their father. Instead, it focused narrowly on constitutional definitions used within royal succession frameworks. Under that interpretation, the commission concluded that the births had not been verified in a manner fully aligned with historical royal protocol. Inside palace circles, the findings reportedly landed like a thunderclap. Sources say Prince William remained resolute. He believed the monarchy's long-term stability required transparency and strict adherence to constitutional law. According to insiders, William urged that the findings be acknowledged promptly, but King Charles III reportedly reacted with far greater hesitation. Holding the red-bound report in his hands, the king was said to pause for a long moment in silence. Those close to the situation say he struggled with the weight of the decision, balancing his duty as sovereign with the emotional reality of family ties. The king also worried about how the ruling might be perceived globally, especially after Meghan's viral video had already ignited a wave of international debate. In the end, Charles chose a path of compromise. That evening, a handwritten note from the king was delivered to Harry at the Windsor residence. According to palace courtiers, the message was carefully worded, formal, measured, and deeply cautious. The note explained that the palace would not publicly address the speculation surrounding the investigation, and the internal records of the commission would remain confidential. Instead, the Crown would issue a temporary letters patent of abeyance, a rare royal measure used to pause the status of titles while constitutional questions are reviewed. Under that arrangement, the titles of Prince and Princess associated with Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor and Princess Lilibet would be suspended pending further constitutional consideration. The document stated the decision would remain in place pending further constitutional review. At the same time, it confirmed that Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor and Princess Lilibet would be removed from the active line of succession until certain constitutional conditions were met. Inside palace circles, advisors quietly admitted something difficult. Those conditions might never realistically be fulfilled. The move wasn't a dramatic expulsion, it was something far more subtle, a silent removal carried out through royal protocol. The children would not be publicly labeled illegitimate, but their royal status would effectively be paused indefinitely, without a public announcement. Their claim to royal succession would quietly disappear. In the final section of the letter, King Charles III informed Prince Harry that he was free to keep his children in the United Kingdom. However, they would be recognized only as private citizens. There would be no HRH titles, no royal security protection, and no access to the trust connected to Princess Diana's estate, which would remain reserved exclusively for officially verified royal heirs. On paper, the decision looked like mercy. In reality, it felt like exile. Harry was left with a final choice. He could raise Archie and Lilibet quietly in Britain as private citizens under royal discretion, or he could return with them to the United States, where the suspension of their royal titles would become permanent. To insiders, the message from the palace was unmistakable. The monarchy had made its move. Sources near the Windsor estate say Harry's reaction was one of deep shock and exhaustion. He had traveled across the ocean hoping to prove his children's legitimacy, only to discover the issue had never truly been about DNA alone. The ruling rested on constitutional procedure. According to palace officials, Prince William had pushed the investigation not out of personal anger, but out of concern for maintaining the legal framework governing the monarchy. To Harry, the realization was devastating. He had fought with emotion while the institution responded with law. That night, on February 14th, Harry reportedly sat alone inside the guest lodge near Windsor Castle. His children were asleep in the next room. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that follows a battle that cannot be undone. In one hand, he held the letter from his father. In the other, the future he once believed was secure. For the first time, the full weight of the decision became clear. His children were his by blood. But under the strict rules of the crown, they were no longer part of the royal succession. The monarchy had protected its laws, even if it meant closing ranks around the institution itself. And in that moment, the entire saga of the so-called bloodline files came to its quiet conclusion, a chapter in royal history sealed not with celebration or triumph, but with silence.